Joining me now is News Corp columnist Angela Mollard and host of the Power Hour, Gabriella Power. Angela, I always find these interviews rather fascinating, mostly due to the continual rehashing of old issues, sprinkled with a bit of lack of introspection. And we'll get to the substance of it in a moment, but what were your thoughts on the timing of the interview and the vibe overall?
Oh, look, the timing is terrible. You've got two members of the royal family who are battling cancer and you talk about these historical issues. And in terms of the vibe, it's just more woe is me. As to your point, Caroline, this is old. The Leveson inquiry that looked into press hacking is now 12 years old, and the recommendations that came out of that inquiry have been implemented by newspapers. Harry continues to draw the press as his main enemy, and the fact is that he has caused a lot more damage to the royal family than the press ever did. And I also take issue with the fact that we're just focusing on the tabloids in this. If you remember, it was the BBC whose fraudulent activities led to Princess Diana giving the Panorama interview. So to just focus on tabloids, I think, is short-sighted, and Harry, of course, has jumped on board that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, look, I found Harry's reference to the Queen's support in his fight against the tabloids particularly interesting. Here is what he said.
You said in court documents that the Queen, your granny as you call her, supported your claim. What do you think she would think of what you're doing now?
We've had many conversations before she passed. This is very much something that she supported. She knew how much this meant to me. I think she's very much up there going, see this through to the end, without question.
Gabriella, I find this sort of thing, again, particularly interesting. Doesn't want to be a working royal, but likes to trot the Queen out when she's absolutely useful. We keep seeing that same theme over and over again.
And it's just so disappointing. You know, every time I see Harry speak, there's part of me that wants to hold on to some hope that maybe we'll see the old Harry that we used to love so much come back. Does he still exist somewhere? And he doesn't. He just plays into this victim narrative. And of course, he'll bring up the Queen to try and get some support, some sympathy. But unfortunately, we just keep seeing the same story with Harry, and I don't understand it. He will continue to play this role of I'm the victim. He's, of course, one of the most privileged people in the world, and that's what we get.
Yeah, we really do. And don't worry, we're all holding on for hope, Gabriella.
One day.
There's at least two other people on this show who all feel the same way. Now, Angela, the claim that I found both sensational and, as I said earlier, totally lacking in self-awareness is that this issue is the issue that was central to the rift between the family, that this press battle. Here is what he had to say on this.
To what extent do you think that your determination to fight the tabloids destroyed the relationship with your family?
I think there's, that's certainly a central piece to it. But you know, that's a hard question to answer, because anything I say about my family results in a torrent of abuse from the press.
Angela, that is a very convenient view for Harry to hold, but it's totally delusional, isn't it?
Oh, it's completely delusional to think that the press is at the centre of this rift. Look, Harry has had a three-pronged attack on his own family with the Oprah interview, with the Netflix series, and then Spare. Now, I have worked in royal reporting for 30 years now, and there is no publication that was as damaging as Spare. If you think about it, he called his family racist, he called them uncaring, he called William violent, he was nasty as all get out to Camilla, his mother and his stepmother. The cruelty in that book has caused far more damage, and to suggest that the rift and the fact that the royal family didn't get on board and counter what the press was doing, Harry has been angry with the press for a very long time. He needs more therapy to work through that. Yes, there were elements of press behaviour back at the time that needed examining. They have been examined, and it's about what the royal family does now going forward. The worst thing that happened was that he married Meghan, and Meghan amplified his anger, whereas he used to have people around him, like his press assistant, Jamie Lowther Pinkerton, who really advised cleverly and carefully. Instead, Meghan has stoked Harry's anger, and then we're left in this position that, you know, there is really little hope of any reconciliation.
And Gabriella, talking about Meghan, another claim that Harry continues to make is that he doesn't bring his family or Meghan to the UK because it's not safe. I mean, that's just a total cop-out.
Well, the reality is that Meghan Markle is living in a mansion in California and she's spending her time gifting jam to the Kardashians. So she's pursuing this life of being a celebrity, being an influencer, and good luck to her, while also making millions of dollars by talking rubbish about the royal family. So, of course, Prince Harry wants to make it about a possible security threat, and that's why he doesn't want to bring Meghan Markle to the UK. The fact is that people in the UK don't want Meghan Markle to come back. I think the latest Ipsos poll showed that 75%, I believe it's probably much more than that, don't like Meghan Markle. They don't want her to come back. So, of course, Harry's going to say that because it suits his narrative. He's not going to say that, you know, Meghan is very busy and happy gifting jams to the Kardashians because, you know, that's a bit of a tougher sell.
It's a conga line of convenience, isn't it? Now, Angela, the Olympics has started and royalty from all over the continent is making its way to Paris. Who's been spotted?
Oh, everyone, because this is the only decent thing about being royal. This is the bit where you don't have to cut ribbons and you don't have to shake hands. This is the kind of upside of actually doing the job. So, look, virtually the whole of Europe. So we've got Queen Mary, Prince Frederick, we've got the Spanish royals, Philippe and Letitia. You're asking me to remember all these names, but basically it's Luxembourg, Belgium, the Netherlands, all of them have got front row seats at all these events. Look, and Princess Anne, of course, notably, she is there as well. She's the head of the British Olympic Council. Of course, coming on the back of her horse accident, her being there and talking to athletes. But look, I do love it that we get to see these royalty hobnobbing it outside the Louvre. It's lovely seeing them in their gorgeous clothes. And this is the prize for all the hard work they do the rest of the year. So
and I like seeing Frederick and Mary as well because it kind of brings back memories from 24 years ago when they fell in love at the Sydney Olympics.
Of course.
So it's special to see them falling in love at the slip-in. It's pretty special.
Yep. Absolutely. And Gabriella, a few reports this week about the King getting a pay rise, spending more on travel, the soaring cost of their engagements. Look, I broadly take the view that the royal family is either worth the expense, you know, regardless of what it is, just because they deliver back in multiples of that cost. Doesn't this just really show that, well, inflation pervades everywhere?
Yeah, well, King Charles isn't the only one getting a pay rise. If you look at the federal MPs here in Australia, they're all getting 3.5% increase. Anthony Albanese is going to be on $600,000. So, look, the cost of living is certainly being felt around the world and particularly in England. And if you actually take a look at the numbers, although the royal family have had to scale back engagements because of the concerns around King Charles's health, particularly with his battle with cancer. Despite scaling back those engagements, the costs of those engagements has actually gone up by £300,000, taking it to £4.2 million. So it's just so much money that has to get factored in. And then to your point, what they bring back in tourism dollars is just enormous. It's hundreds of millions of dollars and that the royal family brings in. And also on that note about what King Charles is getting paid, a big portion of that money is actually going towards the restoration costs for Buckingham Palace.
Yep, fair enough. Now, Angela, there's been a particular furore about the helicopters. What's that all about?
Yeah, this is between King Charles and his son, Prince William. King Charles does not want William to be flying in a helicopter with his wife and 3 children. William, of course, was an air ambulance pilot. He loves nothing better than jumping in a helicopter, but he's still flying with his family. And there's an unwritten rule in the royal family that you don't have the 2 heirs flying at the same time. I actually agree with Charles on this because if you were to, and you know, there are considerable helicopter accidents. Camilla has been involved in one. Sophie, the wife of Edward, she's been involved in look, they're not accidents, but they're skirmishes with helicopters. We know they can be dangerous. I think it's foolhardy of William, but I think it's also William sometimes wanting to stamp his foot. let's imagine that something terrible and untoward did happen and you lost William and his children. Then we'd be looking at Prince Harry on the throne.
No, we cannot have that. That is too much of a concern. I agree with you
We're
there.
not having that. All precautions need to be taken.
OK, Prince Andrew then.
Angela. Angela, I've only got 30 seconds, but very quickly on domestic politics. Today, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced a cabinet reshuffle. Minister for the Republic, Matt Thistlethwaite, has been moved sideways to Assistant Immigration Minister. Have we been spared another pointless and divisive referendum?
Oh, look, it was never... Anthony Albanese came in through the election, said there was only ever going to be one referendum. That, of course, failed, the voice referendum. There is no appetite in this country at the moment for another referendum. I don't think it would get up anyway. 1999, it didn't get across, so I can't see it happening now. The royal family are actually more popular than ever. Look at our ratings and our leaderboard here. You know, people love reading about them, whether we think that they should be funded or not.
Let's hope that the taxpayer is spared that as well. Angela Mollard, Gabriella Power, thank you so much.